and it just shits me to tears. January reading update. I got through quite a few books in January. It helps that it was our summer holidays here in Australia, also that I had taken extra time off, and that the storms caused us to have no internet for almost 2 weeks. So I set myself the goal of reading two, which I did pretty quickly. The Other Valley and Kevin Barry's The Heart in Winter, and then picked up Lustrum. Went into this with fairly low expectations. It came highly recommended, but I wasn't sure if it was going to be my thing. And I absolutely flew through it. I really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to reading more Robert Harris books. And then started uh, Blood Over Bright Haven. And this book was really interesting. Um, the premise, it's a fantasy novel, and the premise is really interesting. There's a magic system that's really well detailed, that's quite compelling. And about this far through it, when you're living by a river in a tent and the water damage starts to seep in, you figure out where the book's going to go. And you're like, okay, I hope it speeds up a little bit. And then halfway through it, the thing that you think is going to happen at the end happens. And that was really interesting. And then the rest is kind of the aftermath and kind of the philosophy of the world building that M.L. Wang has created. And I really enjoyed it. Except, and a bit of a rant here, about this far from the end, we got home from the camping trip, the internet's restored, but we're like washing all the clothes and getting school uniforms ready and all that sort of stuff. I decided I'd put the audiobook on and have the last little bit. And there are Irish accents in this book. So essentially, there are the haves and the have-nots. There's the people who live within the protection of a dome, and then there's the Quen who live outside it, and they gave them Irish accents. And it just shits me to tears when the Neanderthal, famed as being cannibalistic, rabid hunters wearing sheepskin, have Irish accents. I just am so fucking sick of it. The new Lord of the Rings, well, it's old now, Rings of Power series had Lenny Henry, an English comedian, walking around with fucking flowers in his hair, talking in an Irish accent because he was a hobbit or something. I don't know. It's just too much sometimes, and I get that there are some anti-colonial, anti-industrialization themes here. But please, for the love of God, if you have an oppressed culture that you want to vilify at the start and then have a redemption arc, it's not necessary for them to have Irish accents. You can actually just use any other accent. You don't need to give the mages and the high lords high English accents and the bloody unwashed peasants Irish accents. Can we just stop? Can M.L. Wang, can't find out much about her. She's kind of a faceless author, has written YA novels and The Sword of Kaigan, which got great reviews, which meant that I picked up this. Like, if you Google it, it has nothing to do with Ireland. There's no mythology, there's no similarities. It's got nothing to do with Ireland, except the accent is synonymous with peasant. And it really, I mean, you can tell I'm a little bit annoyed. It just took the sheen off what was otherwise a really enjoying, a book I was really enjoying. And that's not to say that the accents were bad. Don't get me wrong. The narrator did an amazing job. The Quen, the people who live outside the protection of the dome, have copper hair, maybe tenuously. And then some spoiler alerts at the end. They overcome the great oppressor and they're all returning to nature because we're all supposed to live in caves. Get to the caves! Get to the caves! There are some Scottish accents thrown in for a little bit of colour. So maybe I'm being a little bit of a snowflake, and actually I should be ranting about the fact that Celts are the great unwashed rather than specifically Irish. But for like 99 of the 100 pages, or 99% of the book, it was the Irish accent. So let me know. Did you enjoy it? How did you find it? Did you enjoy the audiobook? Let me know. I hope your January reading was as fruitful and as emotion inducing as mine.